What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 125 of Nintendo Noise, Flipscreen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend and co-host, Miss Sierra Plus Ultra.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, Sierra. It's been a minute.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. I'm back.
You've been busy. You've been busy. Yo, plug the new single.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's why I've been gone. So, also other things. But anyways, my band with Tales Ahead just released a brand new single called Swear Words. There's no swear words on it. It's just called Swear Words. But it is the second single off of our now announced full-length album Infinite Void coming out April 26th. So check out the single, and if you like it, pre-save or pre-order the record because it is coming soon.
We'll have a link down below. Make sure you go give it a click and show your support.
Thank you.
So, you came back for a good week, right? Last week, you missed the Switch 2 rumors. I mean, I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse at this point, right? Like, the
I mean, 'cause every
30th.
time I'm on, there's like a new rumor, but
So, you dodged it this time. But we're gonna talk about Nintendo Direct rumors. So, it's 50-50, right? You're back for that type of episode.
exactly. The rumor mill never ends.
In the run up to a new console, it's really all we have, right? We're all after a banger of last year. Now we're hungry. We're chomping for scraps. But
I know, we're just all like rubbing our hands in a dark corner, like, what's coming next?
but I do think there's potentially a little smoke this week, right?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of conversation these last few weeks about when are we going to get our first Nintendo Direct of the year. Obviously, this is looking to be a pretty big year for Nintendo. Some new hardware. We know about a few of the games they have on the horizon, some of which are pretty imminent. But for the back half of the year, there's a lot of question marks, and I think a lot of people are wondering when we're going to get some answers. And of course, for the last 3 years now, right, there has been a Nintendo Direct in February, and in the years before that, there have been a few that came in early to mid-March, right? So that period is usually a pretty safe bet for a Nintendo Direct, right?
Right.
And especially, right, those last couple of years, we had a couple really big announcements, right? Like Splatoon 3, Pyra and Mythra coming to Super Smash Brothers, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Mario Strikers Battle League, Nintendo Switch Sports, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC Pass, the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff coming to Nintendo Switch Online, the one of the last trailers we got for Tears of the Kingdom, and Metroid Prime Remastered were all announced at those February Directs. So not only, can you usually expect a Direct in February, you can usually expect something pretty juicy, right? Like one of the big
Right.
announcements for later that year. And, aside from what we know that's coming up, right? We have Mario versus Donkey Kong that's coming out in a couple weeks. It's going to be on the 16th. We got Princess Peach Showtime coming in March, and it's on the 22nd. We just got a trailer for that like a week or two ago that showed off some new stuff. And then we've got Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remake coming later this year. We don't have a date on either of those, right? Aside from
Right.
that, we don't know.
We like literally like towards the end of last year, we kept coming on the show and being like, "There's like nothing for next year." Like it feels like we're really winding down, and there's just a bunch of empty slots and question marks.
Yeah,
Um,
it feels like they're waiting
yeah,
for what comes next, right?
because like I feel like in years past, we knew about even some summer releases in like fall directs, and we're really not getting a lot of that right now.
Yeah, and I
I
I
don't
have
feel.
to wonder if even if some of those games are gonna be, like, cross-release, right? Like, maybe there'll be some new titles that come out on both the Switch and the Switch successor, right? We'll say Switch 2. Um,
Totally.
you probably don't want to announce a game like that until that new hardware is revealed, and we still don't really know when that's gonna be, and, like, I mean, maybe that is the big news in this February, March Direct is that we get the reveal of the console and we start filling in those question marks for what the rest of the year looks like, but I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't reveal it until kinda closer to the middle of the year, right? Like, in that kinda
That's what I'm
summer
thinking too.
E3 season, and maybe this first big Direct is just focused on, more Switch games.
Yeah, because they're Nintendo, like, they don't need a huge, window to promote new hardware if they wanted to. They could just wait. They could keep us waiting until June if they wanted, which
Especially if
kills
there's not a
me.
big gimmick, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's what, you and me and Steve have been talking about and they are gonna kinda go the slightly more, I don't wanna say traditional route, but I mean, I guess, the route that we've seen work for Sony, right? Where and like phones, right? And a lot of other technology where the the selling point is it's the same thing that you already have and like, but it's better and it's got 2 on it now, right? So
Yeah.
that easily communicates what they're buying, right? And I think to your point, like, do you really need like a long cycle to reveal that and then talk about it and sell people on it when what you're pitching them on is a very simple successor to the most popular console on the market right now, depending on the month. I don't know that you do. I think you're probably right. Like I think like a 3-4 month turnaround for that is like probably better for them, right? To be able to be like, hey, this is what it is. These are the big games that are coming out that you're only going to be able to play on this hardware or that will play better on this hardware. You can pre-order it now. I think
Right.
is it makes a ton of sense.
A safe bet for whatever Nintendo Direct that we get, this month or early next is a lot of DLC, a lot of NSO content, and then, they drop the Switch news, Switch 2, Switch Advance in June. But it would be nice to know literally anything because there's also just, like, so many titles just, like, weighing in, like, the ether of, like, do they exist or do they don't? Do they not? Do they don't?
Do
Do
they,
they
don't
not?
they?
Do they, don't they? And it would be cool if it was like, "Okay, Switch is coming this year, announced in February. June, you know the new Switch is coming, and here's what's coming out on it." And then they spend June talking about that, and
Yeah.
then it comes out for the holidays. But I don't know. I don't know. Nintendo's a wild card these days.
I I I think some version of that makes sense to me though, right? And
Yeah.
I'm trying to like think about filling in some of those blanks and like what are those things? Because I think you're hitting on stuff that I think makes sense to me, right? Like the idea of them having something about NSO when they want to fill a gap, right? Like they did with the Game Boy stuff. Maybe we see DS or 3DS support, but then it's like the dual screen of it all. That becomes very difficult. I
Yeah.
don't really know how that would work. And it's like we've talked about, do we think they're ever going to bring GameCube? I really don't think they will. So it's like, where do you
No.
go from here? I don't know. And so if it's not that, is it maybe another partnership like they made with Sega for the Genesis stuff, and they try to bring in some other library like that? Maybe I don't know, but I think there's got to be something there, and maybe it is just adding a bunch of existing DLC to the expansion pass, like maybe
Yeah.
some of the stuff like Xenoblade Chronicles or whatever, right? Some of those bigger releases that have come out that have not been given away for free. Maybe that's how they try to keep people on the hook, and
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because when you
One
yeah.
card they do have to play, I just thought of, sorry to cut you off though, is
No, no, no,
Pokemon,
good.
right? There's no Pokemon games on NSO. You could bring some of the old school Pokemon games to NSO, and that could be a way
I
to get people to
know.
resub, right? Like that would work.
They should, but
Maybe
they
that's a card they've been
won't.
saving for exactly this reason, right? Of like, we're gonna have a real dead period before we're ready to talk about the next console. Maybe we put
You
red and
I
blue
know.
on there. We put, something like that.
Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, which I've been holding out for years, but they won't because they hate us.
Just for you, Sierra, just for you.
Just for me. This is for Sierra Bernando specifically. Twitter making a Twitter post and
We've
just being like,
heard your cries.
"At Sierra." Um, I think that I feel like the odds of a Switch 2 being announced in February are so 50-50. I think that now that they have so many, like, partnerships with so many, like, developers and publishers, like, they could really just buy time and give us a bunch of crap we might wanna pay for or sub to NSO for. And then maybe more information on any upcoming titles that we know about.
And we had that rumor we talked about a couple weeks ago about them partnering with like a bunch of third party developers to work on some of their IP because they, are trying to like deepen their roster as like it's taking them more time and more money to make games than it used to.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, like I wonder if maybe you can get away with a direct that is just announcing the console and showing off like one or two, like here's the next 3D
Oh,
Mario,
yeah, like
and
and now here's
then
one more thing, and then they just yeah, they
that's kind of splat. You remember they did that with the Switch where it was like the big splash screen of like all the different company logos and everything?
yes, yes. So they could do that. And, when you think about it, like, maybe it could be beneficial to do that in February, and then throughout the year, like, info dump a lot of directs on, like, "Okay, you're worried about all of your data being switched over. Here's what's gonna happen." And,
Yeah,
like, talking
yeah.
about everything, like, the transfer process between your old Switch and your new Switch, especially if there's gonna be, like, some titles that are, like, compatible with Switch 2 or, like, certain, like, data transfers that need to take place, like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because I
Yeah,
mean,
like, what
that
about Animal Crossing? Because when I needed to get a new
oh,
Switch, I
yeah.
had to transfer my island. What if I still, in the year 2024, want to play Animal Crossing New Horizons on my new
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch?
I guess, like, that's the kinda thing that they'll have to answer, right? Is, like, is this gonna be, like, a all new Switches can talk to old Switches like they're the same console and
That
transfer
would
the
be
data,
beautiful.
just you
Oh
just
my
use that same
god.
exact system and you transfer your account over and that's that? Or is it,
Yeah.
like, there's, like, a Switch mode you have to log into and then download all your stuff and transfer it over? Yeah. I I would imagine it's probably the former, right? Because like, that was kinda messy on the Wii to Wii U, and I would imagine they'd like a more seamless transition than that. Like, they talked about how, that's been a thing that they've struggled with in the past, and they're aware of it, and they
Yeah.
wanna reduce that friction. Hopefully, that's the case, and it is. You can just log into your Nintendo account and re-download everything and
Mhm.
transfer everything over just like when you got an OLED Switch or when you bought a new Switch or whatever, right?
Mhm.
I hope it's that easy.
Exactly.
It should be that easy.
It should be that easy for the consumer
We'll see.
that they may or may not hate.
Uh, I guess so. Here's something we can pull in because there was this rumor on Reddit that was making the rounds a few weeks ago, and we didn't get around to it because something else crazy happened. And I've been thinking about it again now that all this Nintendo Direct stuff is coming up. Right, there was a leaker who leaked the cowgirl and ninja segments from the Princess Peach Showtime trailer that we just had like 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and they leaked images or screen grabs from that on 4chan like a few months ago, and this same person has now made another claim that there's a direct coming, uh, and that there's a few games that they claim are going to be shown. So I'll say this, right, for starters, as with all rumors, take them with a grain of salt. If it does turn out to be true, since this person potentially has a track record of leaking things in the past, and you don't want to know what's going to come up in that Nintendo Direct, you can go down the description and skip ahead to the next segment, and you won't have anything spoiled for you, and you can hear us talk a little bit about Sierra's time at MAGFest, which is one of my favorite conventions in the world. So, you know, go ahead and do that if you're worried. But like all rumors, we'll see what happens. So the games that they outlined, right, that are supposedly coming are a Fire Emblem 4 remake, which I believe, and maybe you can fact check me on this one, Sierra. I don't know which one 4 is. I think that might be the one with Ike, but I'm not totally sure. That is supposed to be coming in May, so that would be a
Okay.
new Fire Emblem this year. Donkey Kong Country getting a new game for its 30th anniversary, which
Jeez.
would be really cool and would make a lot of sense. I think with what we've heard the last couple of years, right? That there's supposed to be this team within Nintendo EAD that's tasked with working on the Donkey Kong games. Obviously there have been a couple Donkey Kong. Yeah, we get an appearance from
For
Lucas over on
for
YouTube.
yeah, for everyone who is, yeah,
Watching on video, you can see my
audio
cat
only,
butt.
go to YouTube at, I don't know, I'm not gonna know timestamps, sorry, just
But
use your gut.
15 minutes in there ish, and you'll see some cat butt. um, so yeah, the idea that like we'd be wanting to get some new Donkey Kong content out, I think makes a ton of sense. Not only given that there's supposed to be a team working on Donkey Kong stuff, but obviously, he was featured in the Mario movie. He has, his own movie coming up. There's the new theme park ride coming out. I think they're trying to bring DK back as a marquee character in his own right, rather than kind of just being a supporting player for Mario, like he's kind of been the last couple of years. So that's one that I think would make sense if it does come to pass. Metroid Prime 2 remastered, uh, you know, makes a ton of sense, right? We got Metroid Prime 1, why not 2?
Yeah,
Grezzo remake of the Zelda Oracle games. That's Zelda Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Those were some of the games on the Game Boy that Capcom made during I think that was like the very end of the Game Boy Color's life cycle. Great games and ones I would love to see them remake. They're kind of in the same style of Link's Awakening visually, so obviously would be right at home with the remake they did a couple years ago.
yeah,
That Good Feel game is getting localized. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not familiar with that
me neither.
Good Feel. I don't know if you want to pull that up. Did you find the Fire Emblem thing?
I did, but I didn't get like, got distracted and didn't look at the character list. Let's see.
What's the
Um,
name of it?
it is, Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War?
Okay, so
Siguro
I think that's
Fin
older than the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh, is
don't
that the one with
recognize.
Marth?
I'm looking
Oh,
for blue-haired lads, and I do not see him.
I see a blue-haired guy on the cover of the Japanese game, I think.
Right.
Hmm.
I did type in Fire Emblem 4, and that's the game that came up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so maybe that's the one.
yeah.
Well, either way. Um
Control F Ike.
yeah, I think Ike's is
Oh,
definitely later. This is 96, so I'm way off.
damn. He wasn't born yet.
I'm a new Fire Emblem fan, people, okay? Don't crucify me. So, and then Famicom Detective Club is supposedly returning as Nintendo Detective Club. 5 high school
Ooh,
girls must solve vicious crimes that they are personally involved with.
nice.
So, my thing with this is any predictions like this, like I'm inclined to take with a grain of salt, but having like something that specific is interesting to me, like, having "Oh, yeah, Famicom Detective Club is coming back, and it's gonna be this," like,
Yeah.
doesn't feel like one of those obvious, like, "There will be a new Pokemon game," like, type predictions that
No,
any
I
person could
know.
just throw out there, right, for any reason. It
Yeah.
is kind of interesting. I don't know that that necessarily makes me feel, like, more confident in it per se, but I don't know.
It's a
I
hyper specific thing to leak because he changed Famicom to Nintendo because, well, Famicom's not, relevant anymore. So we gotta rebrand it, and that seems like a pretty, clear-cut decision. I don't know, that seems like such a Nintendo thing to do.
So they apparently did remakes of 2 of the original games in the series, which were, The Missing Heir and The Girl Who Stands Behind,
Hmm,
were localized for, Nintendo Switch. So, like,
okay.
and maybe that's a thing too, right? Like, maybe that's a thing that Nintendo will sometimes do is, like, bring an old entry in a series back, and then something new comes out. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's
There's a good mix of, like, pretty ridiculous stuff and also, like, pretty reasonable stuff in this leak.
yeah,
So,
which you never know, right? But
you
I
never
mean,
know.
I think it could a lot of this stuff feels like it could make sense. And I think it's stuff that would fill out the calendar nicely and meaningfully and also is not none of that feels like a this is the big launch title for Nintendo Switch 2 you come out swinging with,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
also makes it feel kind of credible to me a little bit, right? Of like, okay, we're just talking about we don't necessarily think that they're going to come out guns blazing in February and that like the big reveal is going to maybe be closer to the middle of the year. So, a new Fire Emblem, a new Donkey Kong Country, a new Prime remake, like, the a new Zelda thing. Those are all, I think, like, especially the Zelda thing is like an easy, like, that could be the one more thing, and people would be like, "Whoa, what a big deal." And
Yeah.
also, it's not it's not a new Mario 3D Mario level of, "Whoa, what a big deal," right?
Yeah.
And that I don't know. Like, I think I think if any of this ends up coming to pass, you've got a pretty good, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You get a pretty good idea, I guess, of what the next couple months could look like as we're
Yeah.
trying to tread water into that early spring, summer period where they feel like they actually have something to talk about.
Yeah. I think that this is all totally feasible. Metroid Prime 2 Remastered, I'm a little, like, surprised by because the Prime 1 Remaster just came out last year, but if they're able to crank those out, great.
Yeah, I guess that's such a weird one because it's like, what is the timeline on that whole thing? Because we heard about them so long ago, and then it's like,
Yeah.
were they holding the first one for a while, and did that mean they got a head start on the second one? And or
Right.
were they maybe developed like, as soon as one shipped, they started on two, and since the engine's already, yeah, I really don't know.
I know.
It's hard to say. That feels to me like it could be something that's either like, yeah, definitely too soon, or that because we don't really know how long that game was sitting and waiting based on, like, all those rumors that we heard and all the different iterations of it that we heard about. It feels so hard for me to really nail down what the timeline on that game was, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's a good shout though, because I think of any of those that does feel the Grezzo thing also is like, it makes sense in concept, but, like, we did hear that they were working on a new game that was supposed to be an original IP. I don't really know if
Yeah.
they're, like, a team that's big enough to have multiple projects at once like that, you
Right.
know? But it could also be that they're in, like, early development on a new IP, and then the team, is working on this remake while they develop, I don't know. I don't know. Some of them, 'em, we'll see. But a lot of these are franchises that feel overdue, so, hmm, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's not impossible that by the time we publish this tomorrow, we get an announcement of a Nintendo Direct, because that always seems to happen to us. So, maybe this is a predictions episode. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so we have some more Nintendo noise for you in just a second here. But before we do that, let me remind you that this episode is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of February. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Sobe, Snackago, Steve Stompy, Susan Likes Cats and also Boobies, Ty the Dude, and Waka Hula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You're all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. If you want to go and show your support just like they did, if you want to write into the show for our question block segment, if you want to keep the conversation rolling between episodes over on our Discord or any of the other ways that you can get involved in the community, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website. We'll have a link to it down below, and it's got all the ways that you can get involved or show your support in the community. However you choose to do so, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Nintendo Noise. Sierra, I want to hear about your trip to MAGFest because I love MAGFest and I have not been in way too long, and I want to hear about what it was like.
You got it. I will help you to live vicariously through my
Yeah, let me let
experience.
me let me remember the sights, the sounds, the smells.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me I'll do my best to make sure I hit everything. So for anyone listening or watching who doesn't know, MAGFest is short for Music and Games Fest. It is a convention that happens every year in pretty much like DC, greater DC area in National Harbor. It's held at the Gaylord Hotel.
Yeah, it's like a
And
massive like business hotel.
yeah, but it kinda looks like, Orlando inside. It kinda looks like a theme park.
It
It's
is, 'cause it's
crazy.
so weird, like, there's, like, that section, where there's, like, those big glass elevators, and there's, like, that little
Yeah.
courtyard with, like, a gazebo inside. You're like, "There's a building inside? I'm inside a building already. What do you
Right,
mean?"
like, if you get a room, like, your balcony is just overlooking the inside of the hotel. And people like I mean, prime people watching, but, I prefer a more scenic view, but that's okay. Um, so
Did you stay in the hotel or did you
I
stay
did not, and honestly, I'll go on record to say that was a huge mistake. I should not have done that.
it's
The
worth
re
it to stay there for sure.
Yes. I stayed with my friends Kevin and Caleb from the band Pulses who live 23 minutes away.
Oh,
So,
nice,
we
okay.
were like "We're not paying all the money for a hotel room, like, we can just commute back and forth." Um, but we saw the value in staying there. You miss way less. For example, they were doing a charity tattoo thing every day. If you got on the queue by a certain time, you could get, 100, $200, like, video game tattoos, and the Flash was so good. It was really good, and we were, like, genuinely sad to have missed that. If we were in the hotel and could just, like, wake up and go down there, we wouldn't have missed that. So,
Yep.
actually, I will, provided I won't be away. I'm going to MAGFest next year, and I'm also entering for the hotel lottery because I would like to be able to just wake up and go. Another thing about MAGFest is, like, it's a party con.
Yeah.
I'm going there to, like, learn new things and play video games and network, and, like, every people are showing up to panels with red Solo cups. Like,
Yeah,
it's
no, it's like
crazy.
it is straight up like, I have never been on a bender in my life except for what being at MagFest, where
Mhm.
it's like, okay, like, I guess everyone's just, drunk for 3 days straight.
Yeah,
It's like yeah, it's like Comic-Con and a rave and a house party, like, inside a giant hotel, and it's so strange.
for real. Oh my it's so weird, but I like the vibes. It
It's
was,
great.
yeah, so, like, you can attend panels. There's a 24-hour arcade that is, like, indie games, retro games, console games, rhythm games, and, yeah, there's so much you can do. And there's also
And
tournaments
it's
you
all
can enter
free,
in.
right?
It's
Still?
all free. There's also, like there's an artist alley, you can buy stuff. I bought so many stickers. There's what else? There's open jams if you're a musician or even if you're not. Um, they will have themed jam sessions where people can show up with, whatever instrument you play. They have charts available and they project them onto this big screen. And, you like jam video game music. Some sessions were anime, some were specifically I went to a Smash Ultimate one where they were playing, 4-player free-for-alls, and, like, every time they pick a stage, they would play that stage's theme.
That's
So,
so cool.
it was so awesome, and I'm like, "Dang," like, I've been a musician my whole life, and I can't read charts. I gotta step up my game. It made me care about theory again. I don't use theory when I write songs. I will say, like, the only thing, like, I was surprised by was I thought I would be more interested in going to panels. There was one about, sync licensing for video games. That was, like, the first one we went to, and I was, like, booking it to try and make it on time because the line to get in was so long. That's another thing. If you go, registration lines, very long. They moved, but long. So just prepare for that. We went to a panel on the history of anime OPs, which was my favorite. That one was really enlightening. And then just, like, a lot of Q&As with, musicians working in the gaming industry, which was
Yeah.
incredibly valuable. If anyone knows Scatoon Network, Jer, the person who fronts that project, that band, they did a few sessions. They weren't, like, performing this year per se, but they did a lot of cool stuff. Um, I like 10 out of 10 experience, like, we went in, like, not expecting anything, we didn't really have a plan, which we later went on to find out was discouraged, but we still had a great time just figuring things out and, like, playing it by ear. The
I
food
think that's a
situation
good way to do a
yeah,
convention like that for the first time is kinda to just go and, like, experience it, and, like,
exactly,
if when you go next year, you can, like, be a little bit more strategic about it if you want to be?
exactly. And now that I know what the food situation is like, because that was tough, there's a market you can buy meals from, it's not, like, a lot of options, but it's better than nothing. Everything else in there is kind of expensive, so you'll find yourself, like, walking outside in the cold to go
Yeah.
get food, which stunk, but there's some good spots on the block too. Cosplaying highly encouraged. That was awesome.
Yeah, so you cosplayed both, you were there for 2 days or 3?
3 days.
You
We skipped the
cosplayed 2
last
days,
one.
right?
Yeah, I cosplayed, Anne Takamaki from, Persona 5 on Friday, and then the con was Metroid themed, so I did Zero Suit Samus on my last day, and it's
Oh,
cool,
yeah.
like, people all get, like, photos with each other, and it's really wholesome, like, um, yeah, it's really just such a great and, like, awesome con with a lot of friendly people. So,
Yeah,
I
that's the thing I really like about it is, like, how I don't know, like, there is that kind of, like, real communal experience at conventions, and I feel like it's really heightened at MAGFest because most people are intoxicated, so there is this
Yeah,
real sense of, like, we're all hanging out even though you're a stranger, you know, and
exactly.
I have had so many, like, really nice interactions like that with people. Like, I remember, the first year I went, like, a long, long time ago, um, my friends and I had a room, and when we got there, we, like, opened the door, and we just, like, started playing music, and we're like, "Hey, people come in or out," or whatever, and it
Oh,
was, like,
cool.
within, like, I was, like, talking to a bunch of guys from Canada for, like, 20 minutes, and it's like, then I'm going off with them and meeting some and it's just, like it's just nice to get to, have that kinda, like, experience of just, everybody being there for the same thing and there being this kind of sense of like everybody's here to have a good time and look out for each other and it's cool. It's a cool vibe. It could
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
way, way, way um more like I don't know. It feels like extremely chaotic, but not in a way that's like scary or dangerous, which I think is
No,
it's like that's tough for it to be as crazy as it is without it feeling like creepy, on some level, right? Or
totally.
that you need to be guarded, that everybody's, um, like in this place intoxicated or whatever.
You'd think, but no, it was totally normal and fine. Yeah.
It's like it's like I have like pictures from it that I would never share because it's just like I don't want to like share photos of strangers, like in weird,
Yeah.
situations or whatever. But like I have this vivid memory of this man who was in a Mega Man costume just laying down in the elevator and like pretending to be a doorman, but laying down just drinking out of a bottle of like whiskey.
Holy
It's just like,
shit.
what the fuck is happening? It's like,
That is I can't I was surprised how everyone was walking around with alcohol everywhere. I could not believe it. Like, I'm like, "Really? Like, they're allowed into panels?" And, like, my friend Josh was like, "Yeah,
yeah.
you can open container as long as it's not, like, glass or whatever." I was like,
Hmm.
"Wow."
It's so crazy. Yeah.
Do you remember what you did when you went to the last one? Like, did you do any jams? Did you just game a lot?
I didn't do any jams. I would like to live like the
Yeah.
first year that I was there, I was like, oh man, like I so want to like come and do that part of it. And yeah, I think like I just I've never like committed to figuring out like what would that setup look like? Like, what do I bring, right? Am I bringing a drum kit? Am I bringing a
Right.
keyboard? Like, what am I like, what would I try and do there? Um, Maybe if we go together, I'll be incentivized to try it.
Yeah! We'll get
Because
a
that would
big
be sick.
crew. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mostly went to the concerts for the more organized stuff, right? Like, I
Nice.
went to a lot of the rave hours and when they had, bands like Bit Brigade and stuff. Are you familiar with
I
them? They're fucking
I
crazy.
know they were there, but we missed them. I saw Metroid Metal. That was phenomenal, but
So fucking fun just to be in a
yeah.
room of people, like it's like you're just watching a live Let's Play while a fucking metal band shreds. It's, like,
Yeah.
just awesome, you know? We watched
So
him,
sick.
the year I was there, they actually were doing Metroid, funny enough.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and it was just fucking awesome, you know? And, like, yeah, a lot of that stuff, like, I try to catch, and then, yeah, like, I spent a lot of time in the arcade. Just, like,
Mhm.
fucking, playing, like, cabs or, like, I got so sucked into, their retro computer setup the first time
Nice.
because I was like, "I've never seen a Commodore 64 before, like, I can play all these games I've read about, like, what?" And just, like, that stuff is so cool, and, like, that's another thing that I think, like, speaks to how cool MagFest is, that, like, the people that go are cool, because like, all of the games and stuff that get brought are from private collections, and people bring
Oh,
them
wow.
and, like, donate them to be used, and, like, nobody fucks them up, right? Like,
Yeah.
people haven't stopped doing it, like, they're bringing cool, vintage, like, expensive stuff, and there's all these drunk assholes, and nobody's an asshole, right? Like,
Yeah.
nobody is spilling drinks on stuff. Everybody's, like, being respectful that, like, this is somebody else's stuff, and they're letting you play, right? So it's like, I don't know. I just yeah, that stuff is so really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and that it's open for 24 hours is absolutely buck wild.
Insane to me. Bless those people working the con, for real.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
your service.
absolutely. But yeah, I went to a couple panels, but like you, I didn't really go to them as much as I thought I would. Like,
Same, yeah,
because I think it's just like you kind of want to be out on the floor experiencing the energy, and like seeing
exactly.
people like perform and stuff. Um,
You
oh yeah,
also
like I got to
learn.
see Insane in the Rain play there a couple years ago, and oh
That's
my god,
crazy.
he was so good. It was like
That
he
is
had a
so cool.
little quartet, I think, or maybe a quintet. And yeah, they were playing in the like atrium area, and it was like super fucking cool. Um, yeah, so it's like I feel like kind of whatever, and there's like they have a huge board game section. Like you can go and play like Dungeons and Dragons, or you can I like play tested a bunch of games one year when I was there. Um, like and you can get like into like TCG tournaments and stuff, and it's like kind of like whatever you're into, there's like something for you there,
Yeah,
which is definitely yeah, it's something else. It's
it
definitely
really
not
is.
like any other convention I've ever been to.
No. I mean, I've only been to 2, but no, absolutely not. Yeah, couldn't recommend it more.
Do you think you'll go back next year?
Oh my god, 1000%. There is a cosplay I've been dying to do ever since I went blonde, but it is so expensive. But I figure a year of lead time might be enough to get everything together, but
It's a
it's
Twitch goal.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. So and then I'll probably send off the blonde with that.
Oh, yeah? You think so?
Yeah, my hair needs a break. My hairdresser is like, "Please, I love you so much, but I'm scared about your hair." And I was like, "Yeah, that's valid. I think I could I think we can go back to dark hair soon, soon."
Well, then, yeah, I think that's a good way to send it off then. If you've been wanting to do this for years, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh my
Very
god,
nice.
yeah.
Very nice. All right, so yeah, everybody make sure you go to MAGFest next year so you can see me and Sierra headline. It'll be a
Oh
good
my
time.
god, be the dream. Did I ever tell you the story about how, like, MagFest got mad at us for trying to submit to play?
No, what happened?
Okay, so, the way MagFest used to or does take submissions for performers is you submit through a Google form. They said if you want to see somebody play MagFest, you fill out a singular form and let them know. So we told people, like, if you wanna see us play at this cool
Oh.
video game and music convention, submit with sales ahead. Now, an organizer emails us, with an irate email, and they're like, "Hey, whoever submitted, like, 20 forms from this one IP address for you guys, can you tell them to stop?" And I was like, "Oh my god, we didn't tell someone to do that. We said one," and, like, got us in this person, whoever they were, got us in trouble. I was like, that's
Oh,
my family. I was like, Do any of y'all do this? Like, do you know who this is?" They're like, "No, we swear. We wouldn't do that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know who this could be." So,
that sucks. Just like
yeah,
somebody's like trying to like, yeah, I'll do it every day and get you
for
guys in.
real.
It's like,
20?
oh,
20!
it's too much
What did
money.
you do? I'm like, "One of my programmer friends?" But, like, they were like, "No." So so hopefully we can start off on a new foot with Magfest and kind of have, I don't know, a better chance at actually playing in the future, but we'll see.
2025.
Yeah, I think the play is, like Metroid Metal mentioned that, like, they had Metroid Metal, but they also, like the 5 of them also had a band with originals. So the play is you
Mm,
start
a cover
a
band.
cover band
Yeah.
that plays video game music, and then you're like, "Hey, also we write our own music too." And
Yeah.
you just kinda have that at the I think that
You guys gotta pick like a I don't know what game you could do. Pick a game and then you cosplay as the character from that game and then you play all the music from that game.
okay.
I think
Maybe
that
we'll do Super Monkey Ball.
Y'all just run out in giant hamster wheels, you know?
Holy fuck, I'd love to play a show in a hamster wheel. Are you kidding me? Of all the people
Or sorry,
I need
a
to
ball,
see
not a wheel. You know what I mean? The
same thing.
plastic.
I would love to see me and my bandmates try to do that. That sounds like a bit on a Japanese game show. You put it this so you remember that show that was like we put a band in an orb, like tower, and we make them
Yes.
it was like on MTV Refused, I don't remember, Cartel did it. But yeah, it's like that, but we're just playing a set, but we're in the ball and we have to perform.
I think you're onto something. You know, I think you're onto something. We're gonna make this happen, everybody. All
Playing all
right.
your favorite Super Monkey Ball hits.
I I think
I can't
maybe
name one.
maybe do a different one. Maybe something with songs that I've heard of. You know, maybe that's the way to go.
I don't know.
Maybe Sonic. You know, you guys could
Oh, fuck, yeah.
play
Well,
some
there's a
Crush
whole
40 songs.
symphony for
Yeah,
that.
I'd love to see you cover Live and Learn. I'd love to hear you
Alright.
belt that for me.
Maybe Sonic is the play. Sonic cover band.
You know, I don't know. I feel like maybe you'll get some more mileage out of that, but
That is
but,
the
you know, there's something to
Super
be said about
Monkey
a
Ball.
niche, right? There will be definitely no other Super Monkey Ball bands, so
I'm crying at the thought of a Super Monkey Ball band.
you call
Oh
it the
my
Super Monkey
god.
Band.
Super Monkey oh my
Call it
god.
Super
There it is.
Monkey Band 2, that's what you'll call it.
Perfect. Yeah, the 2 is, important. I agree.
Named after the best game in the franchise, obviously. Come on.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there for today. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Nintendo Noise. If you want to write in with your hopes and dreams for the next Nintendo Direct or your memories of your favorite convention, make sure you hit us up at contact questions. I forget. You know what? You can find the link to hit us up at flipscreen.games. There you go. You head over
You'll
there
find it.
or come join the Discord and write in. And if you write into the show, you can get your thoughts right on the air during our question block segment. And you have a good old time, you know? So make sure you go and do that, however you choose to show your support. We thank you for tuning in for another episode of Nintendo Noise. For the crew, I've been Pete. She's been Sierra. We'll see you next week.